The Billionaire's Father, A Heartbreaking Family Story by Selene Ardent. Chapter 3, Whispers of Truth. The following days passed under an uneasy silence. David avoided looking at his father, his pride too wounded to admit that the encounter with Mr. Hayes had shaken him. Emily, on the other hand, grew restless. Every time she looked at Robert, she saw not just the weary handyman, but a shadow of someone greater, someone hidden. One evening, as Robert patched a tear in his old jacket at the kitchen table, Emily finally spoke. "Dad, why didn't you ever tell us?" Robert didn't look up. "Tell you what?" "That you used to be something, someone important. Mr. Hayes, he didn't speak like a man exaggerating, he spoke like he owed you his life." Robert threaded the needle slowly, carefully, as though the task required all his attention. "Emily, the past doesn't put food on the table. It doesn't pay bills. It doesn't change who I am now. But it changes how we see you," Emily pressed. "Then maybe," Robert said quietly, "it's better you don't see me that way." David, who had been scrolling on his phone nearby, slammed it down. "You hear this, Em? He's hiding something. He always has. And you know what? I bet it's nothing, just stories. Some guy felt sorry for him and made it sound big." "Don't get your hopes up," Emily frowned. "Why are you so eager to believe the worst?" "Because it fits," David snapped. "Look around. If he was ever somebody, do you think we'd be living in this dump? Do you think I'd be hustling every day just to borrow $20? No, Em. He's a nobody. Always has been." Robert flinched at the cruelty of the words, but said nothing. He simply tied the last knot in his thread and set the jacket aside. The next afternoon, Emily decided to follow her father discreetly. Something gnawed at her, a hunger to know the truth. Robert walked to the public library, a place he rarely visited. Curious, she trailed behind, hiding among the shelves as he spoke with the librarian. "Mr. Miller," the librarian said warmly, "it's good to see you again." Robert smiled faintly. "Just need a quiet place today." Emily watched as the woman handed him an old newspaper from the archives. Robert sat down, flipping through yellowed pages with trembling fingers. From her angle, Emily could see the headline, "Inferno at Riverside Complex. Dozens saved by brave firefighter." And there, grainy but unmistakable, was a photograph of a younger Robert, soot-covered, exhausted, yet unmistakably heroic as he carried a child from the flames. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She nearly stepped forward, but Robert closed the paper, slid it back, and left before she could gather the courage. That night, Emily cornered her brother. "David, I saw it. There's proof. Dad really was a hero. He saved people during the Riverside fire." David snorted. "A hero? Please, that was decades ago. If it were true, why didn't he cash in on it? Why aren't we rich, living in some nice house? Heroes get medals, jobs, respect. Not everyone wants the spotlight," Emily argued. "Did you ever think maybe he gave something up? Maybe he lost everything because of what he did?" David shook his head, frustrated. "That's loser talk." You don't sacrifice and end up like him unless you screwed up. I'm telling you, Em, we're wasting our lives waiting for him to magically turn into someone else. We need to move on. Emily bit her lip, anger and sadness swirling inside her. Maybe you're just afraid to admit you've been wrong about him. 2 days later, Robert received another unexpected visitor. This time, it was not Hayes, but a woman in her 40s, dressed elegantly, though her eyes carried old sorrow. She arrived at the apartment, knocking gently. Robert opened the door, startled. Anna, Emily, who had been home, froze. David appeared from his room frowning. The woman smiled faintly. I heard you were still here, Robert. I couldn't just pass through town without saying thank you. Emily blinked. Thank you. For what? Anna stepped inside, her voice trembling with emotion. Your father saved my daughter. The night of the fire, I was trapped. He carried her out when no one else would go back in. If not for him, she wouldn't be alive today. And neither would I, because I don't know how I could have lived without her. Tears welled in her eyes as she turned to Robert. You never wanted recognition, but you deserve it. My family prays for you every day. Emily's hands shook. David looked pale, unable to form words. Robert cleared his throat, uncomfortable. That's enough, Anna. Please. But she stepped forward and hugged him tightly. The world may not know, but we do, and we'll never forget. When she left, silence filled the room. Emily looked at her father with new eyes, her voice soft. Dad, why didn't you ever tell us? I'm no one special, Robert cut her off firmly. No, she insisted, her voice trembling. You're the reason people are alive today. That's not nothing. David paced like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair. This doesn't make sense. None of it. If you were that guy, why are we nobodies? Robert met his son's eyes, weary but unyielding. Because, David, some prices are worth paying. Some choices change everything. I made mine. That night, after Robert had gone to bed, Emily and David argued fiercely. You saw her, David. You heard her. How many more people have to come here before you believe? Emily snapped. David slammed his fist on the table. I don't care what stories they tell. It doesn't change the fact that we're broke, that I'm a joke to my friends, that you're stuck begging for interviews. A hero doesn't raise his kids in poverty. A hero doesn't end up forgotten. Emily's voice broke. Maybe he gave up everything. For us. Did you ever think about that? David fell silent for a moment, then muttered bitterly, Then maybe I never wanted his kind of love. The words pierced Emily's heart. She turned away, tears burning her eyes. In his room, Robert sat awake, having heard every word. He stared at the ceiling, his chest heavy. He had shielded his children from his past because he wanted them to build their lives free of his burdens. But now he wondered if his silence had only built a wall between them. The world might have forgotten Robert Miller, the firefighter who once carried strangers from the jaws of death. But the whispers of truth were spreading, and soon the children he loved so fiercely would know the whole story, whether he was ready or not.